All right. Hi, everybody. Really happy to be here today for a fireside chat on Journey to Innovation, Unleashing the Power of Open Source through Open Governance. As you probably know, I'm LeClerc. I'm chair of the Presto Foundation outreach team. And today I'm joined by Girish Baliga and Vikram Murali. Girish is, as you also probably know, chair of the Presto Foundation. And Vikram is our newest member of the Presto Foundation coming from IBM. So with that, maybe quick introductions. Vikram, we can hear both from you and from Girish on why you're here and why Presto.
Sure. This is Vikram Murali. Thank you, Ali, and thank you, Girish. So I'm the VP of Development here at IBM for IBM's data repositories, DB2 Netezza, Watson Query, and now the watsonx.data. I'm super excited to be a part of the Presto Foundation. Great members from Uber, Intel, HPE, ByteDance, and others. So really looking forward to working with all the foundation members and also very closely with the Presto community.
Welcome, Vikram, to the Presto Foundation. So as Ali mentioned, I'm Girish Baliga. I'm Director of Engineering at Uber, and I've been involved with the Presto Foundation since the early days. I currently serve as chair of the governing board. It's a great pleasure to welcome IBM as part of this community. I think IBM, particularly with the latest watsonx, brings in a huge enterprise offering that was, I think, missing from the Presto community. So great to have you on board and very excited about this.
Great, thank you both. So let's talk a little bit more, Vikram, on I know that IBM had been looking at Presto for, I think, the last few years, maybe. And so why did you choose Presto, and maybe talk a little bit about that evolution at IBM and how you ended up here today?
Yeah, sure. You rightly said, we've been looking at Presto for quite some time now, and we've been testing various SQL engines. So we have a couple of those engines which are proprietary to IBM as well. But when we started looking at what else is out there, we wanted to go with something from open source, something which had a good community behind it. But at the same time, we wanted to pick an open source project which had a good governance model around it, which was truly open, where there was not one company behind it, but truly it's a community effort. And Presto, checked all the boxes, and we were very impressed with the Presto usage at companies like Uber and Meta and others. The scale at which it's being used, the elasticity. So it's a very robust, mature engine, I would say. Has a long way to go, a lot of opportunity there. But at the same time, we were very impressed with how the community was already using Presto. All of the elasticity, the scalability, these were all things that, are very dear to our enterprise customers. And the community was already, using Presto, and it was already battle tested. So those were some of the reasons why we were very interested in Presto right from the get-go, and working closely with the community, with Girish, with Steven. We wanted to take it to the next level, and that is what led us to the acquisition of Ahana. Because this is, again, our commitment to Presto. It's just not about the commercialization of Presto, but it's also, as a community, it's a really good project and needs to grow as part of the community. So those were some of the reasons which led us to partnering with Ahana and then the acquisition of Ahana.
Great. So Girish, I kind of have a two-pronged question for you. So first, maybe wearing your Presto Foundation hat, I know you talked a little bit about Presto Foundation, the governance model, in our opening keynote today, but maybe we can talk a little bit more, from your perspective, why is that governance model so important? And, Vikram touched, this was an important part of why they acquired Ahana and why they chose Presto. So maybe a little bit more your perspective on the foundation and the model behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. So back in the day when we were first looking at different models, open source community models for Presto, we had a few options on the table. So we had options where, it would be largely led by a technical committee. It would be some sort of a standalone model, And Linux was a third option, right? Where they had a very well-defined model. And I think the Linux model was the most attractive to us back in the day, and I think that still holds today. The reasons are twofold. So one, it provides a very well-established model for a community to come and gather and engage productively. And the second reason is it also provides a good natural way for corporate entities and companies like Facebook, Uber, and IBM to engage constructively and collaboratively along with the technical community. I think both of those were important to us, and I think the Linux governance model allows that to us. So very briefly, we have a two-tiered structure. We have a governing board where companies can basically contribute to the community and then get a board seat. So we are all board members. So we, at a high level, oversee how the community is run. But then the actual code, the technical roadmap, the software development, all of that is overseen by the technical steering committee. And that is largely driven by the engineering community, right? And so I think this two-tier model works great. And I think that's, I'm guessing, also the reason why it was attractive to IBM.
Perfect. And then my second question around these lines, what Vikram touched on, the tech, right? So let's put on your Uber hat now. You've been using Presto for quite some time at Uber at pretty impressive scale. So maybe talk a little bit more about your journey, at Uber with Presto, and some of the things that are coming, that will be coming later in Presto. What's interesting to you, and where do you kind of see that going?
Absolutely. So we've been using Presto at Uber for almost 8 years now, and I've been part of that journey for the last 5. In my experience, Presto has just grown and grown. It's people just love it. They love using it. They love working with it. And if there's any problems with it, we hear it loud and clear, right? It goes all the way to the top. So definitely, Presto is a very integral part of the way we run Uber. And Uber, as you might guess, is a very data-oriented business. So we rely very much on insights from the data that we collect from all our business operations. And we need this not only to improve our business, but also to do things like reporting, right? So compliance and things of that nature. So it's very critical for us. And so being able to rely on a system that is reliable, that performs at scale, and that does what our users want is super critical. And to us, that was more important than lots of bells and whistles. And that's the reason why we've kind of invested very heavily with Presto and worked with partners like Meta and Twitter and so forth through this journey. But now, in my view, the one missing component here was having a good enterprise partner who can, take this from an engineering-led to a proper offering for end customers type solution. And this is where we'd love to partner with IBM and work with them on taking this to the broad audience.
Great. I think that's a great segue, Vikram, into maybe sharing more about watsonx.data. I know there was a big announcement at the IBM Think conference a few weeks back. So tell us a little bit more about that and where Presto kind of plays in that space.
Yeah, absolutely. So we introduced our watsonx platform. It's an AI and data platform at IBM Think, our conference in the second week of May. So if I have to put watsonx into perspective, I think of it as a 3-leg stool. The first being the watsonx.ai. And it is a next generation studio that will help customers and enterprises use it to create models, train them, validate them, fine-tune them. And these are not just any machine learning models, but these are foundation models and large language models. So we are going into the world of generative AI, and that is exactly what watsonx.ai aims to tackle and help customers use the studio to build those models, train, validate, and deploy them. The second piece is the watsonx.data piece, which is the lakehouse architecture that we've been talking about. So watsonx.data is, again, the core engine there is going to be Presto. We are going to be supporting multiple engines. Presto is one, Spark is another one. These engines work very well with each other, but we've spent a lot of time bringing these open source engines together especially at the metadata layer, the technical metadata, how you sync the data, technical metadata between engines. And also we are, right now off the bat, we are going with Iceberg support, but we are looking at supporting Hudi at some point as well. But Iceberg is going to be the tabular format that we will adopt. And then at the bottom layer, the data formats, we're going to be supporting Parquet, Avro, and ORC. Now, the advantage with the stack is that it's truly open in the sense that there's no vendor lock-in. Right from the SQL engine layer to the tabular format layer to the data layer, there's no vendor lock-in. So this is, again, our commitment to being open, not only using open source, but also truly being open, where customers see value, not from, locking them into, enterprise products, but actually giving them value from the sum of all parts, especially in this context with watsonx, the AI part and the data part coming together. And then there's the third piece of watsonx, which is the governance piece. And this governance is around the AI governance. This is governance around the large language and foundation models, including Watson machine learning, where we can detect drift, model drift. We can detect whether these models were actually created without bias. So all of those things can be tracked and governed. Like the data lineage, now we can have a model lineage through the watsonx.governance part. So these are the three key components of watsonx. But again, we are very, very excited because we are committing to, from a data perspective, at least we are committing to the openness of the platform, the data layer, the tabular layer, as well as the engine layer.
That's great. And I think that's really exciting for Presto and for the open source community. So thanks for sharing more on that. As we wrap up here, Girish, I know I've heard you say this quite a bit around, using open source, or using Presto, in an open source, through the open source project. It's really for any company. It's big and small, and it's all about scale at a low cost, right? And we talk a lot about price performance. So as we kind of close out here, maybe you can give some final thoughts on that perspective and where you kind of see Presto going.
Absolutely. So as systems engineers, right, I think the first thing you learn when you deal with a production system that somebody else is using is you have to make trade-offs. I mean, that's key to everything, right? Every decision that you make, how you design your systems. And the fundamental trade-off that you need to make in a data infrastructure system is price versus performance. You'll get better performance, but you have to pay top dollar. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. And with Presto, I think you are making, you don't have to make that much of a compromise because you're getting a system that will work at Facebook and Uber scale. So that is already priced in. Maybe you can squeeze some more juice out of it. I'm pretty sure IBM, with all its expertise with DB2 and other systems, is going to squeeze a lot more juice out of it. But given that it is available to anybody to just download and run is quite remarkable to me. So, and this is a system and an engine that will grow with your business, right? You can be a small 5% startup, and then God willing, you guys scale to $1 billion company, the engine will grow with you. You're not going to run into any issues. So that's what makes it exciting for me as a community and a representative of the engine.
Fantastic. Well, with that, I will say welcome officially IBM through Ahana, through the acquisition of Ahana. But we're very excited to have IBM as part of the open source community, and we can't wait to do more. Girish, I'll let you end here with your final thoughts on, if somebody wants to join the Presto Foundation or just getting started with the community, how do they do that, and where do they get started?
Absolutely. I think joining us at the Presto meetup today, the PrestoCon day, that's a great place to start. As you probably heard from our various users, partners, and community members, Presto is used in a variety of ways, variety of companies, variety of businesses. I'm pretty sure Presto can accommodate whatever your data analytics needs are. So this is a great place to start. But we also have monthly meetups. You can join us there. We have community channels like Slack, email. So those are all great ways to engage with the community. But if you're ready to do more, we also have a very open contribution model. You can come and contribute to the community. You can write code for Presto, or maybe you can just have a connector to your proprietary system but we have a way in which you can own the code that you write, you can contribute and be part. And if you want to be part of the whole community, we more than welcome you with open arms to join our formal membership, become a board member, and help drive Presto and the community into the future. And
you don't need to acquire a company to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't. But that's a great way to do it.
It is a great way to do it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that wraps us up here. So thank you so much, Vikram and Girish. It was so nice to get your perspectives and thoughts. Like I said, I'm super excited for the future of the open source Presto project and the community around it. I think there's going to be a lot of really great things that have already happened this year and that will be happening this year. So more to come. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.